My mom had a hard time saying, "I love you." Now, don't get me wrong, she was a fantastic mom. But it was the 70s, I'm from the South, so she did everything a good mom would do. She baked chocolate chip cookies, she cleaned my room. Remember, this is the 70s. She volunteered at every organization at my school. All right, during the pet rock years, okay, she got a pickup truck. She drove it to the creek, loaded it up with rocks, went home and painted 1,000 faces on all the little rocks to raise money at the school carnival. Now, once in college, now this is very personal, growing up, I was a tighty-whitey kind of guy. I only wore white briefs. But in college, I learned that girls like boxers. This is the 80s, after all. And I mentioned this to my mom, and a week later, a box arrived at my dorm. 50 pairs of boxers. All homemade. All different colors. Are you starting to understand the kind of woman my mom was? We were very close. We were closer than most teenage boys are with their moms. Because not only was she my mom, she was my clogging partner. You see, my mom was a decent dancer. She came from a little town in the country, so her style of dancing was called buck dancing, which is kind of like tap dancing to bluegrass music, except your feet move a lot faster, and the rhythms are not like 1, 2, 3, 4. They're more like that, okay? Growing up, she tried many times to teach me, but buck dancing is really hard to break down, so we didn't get very far. But when I was 14, she reads in the paper that these world championship cloggers, another word for buck dancers, were going to be teaching a class, and she signed me up. For the first 2 years, I kept it a secret. No teenage boy wants other teenage boys to know that every Tuesday night, he went with his mom to dance lessons. But when I was 16, that's when John Travolta's movie Urban Cowboy hit. And it hit hard. Clubs were popping up left and right. Everyone wanted to get in on the swing, and as luck would have it, my mom and I had been dancing that way for 2 years. The girls at school could not believe how good I was. Sometimes after clogging class, they were these big classes, sometimes with over 200 people in them, we would all go to honky-tonks and dance until they closed. My mom, who was not a drinker, would beg the bouncer to let me in, promising I wouldn't drink. Many a night we would dance until the bar closed, only getting a couple of hours of sleep until it was time to go to school again. The teacher once asked me why I was so tired. I told her I had been to a honky-tonk dancing all night, and she made me go to the principal's office for lying. I called my mom to come in and vouch for me, and she said, "Sorry, son, you're going to have to get detention this time. I can't have everyone thinking I'm a bad mother." Are you starting to understand how complex she was and how much fun? She was like a walking party, my mom. She was smart, too. She didn't have a college education, but she could really read people. But she had this one little thing. She had a very difficult time saying the words, "I love you." Now, here's the part that's strange. She didn't have a hard time saying it to my brother. She said to him all the time. And not to my dad. They had a very romantic relationship. But to me, it was difficult. When I was 17, I confronted my mom. "I say it to you, but why do you never say love me? You tell everyone else you love them, but you never say it to me." Her eyes filled with tears. "Son, there are some men in this world who will hear a lot of people say I love you. Some will tell the truth, most will lie. You want to be an actor, so I think you're going to grow up to be one of those men who might just hear it a lot. And you're going to have to be able to tell the difference. Not trust what people say, but trust what's in their heart. And then there are going to be some times when no one says it at all. And you're going to have to be ready for that. And then you'll realize that you don't need to hear it as much as you thought." And that was that. The day I moved my wife from Tennessee to California, my mom came up with this plan. She told my dad they needed to build a house on the lake so that I would come visit every summer. And I love my parents. So silly she thought she had to build a house on the lake so I would come visit her. My dad, who'd almost finished paying off for their house, said he was not ready to take on another mortgage. My mom explained that she had been saving money all these years and she could help. My dad laughed. She was a stay-at-home mom who every once in a while sold a dress that she had made. She opened her bank account, and it turned out that she had sold a hell of a lot more dresses than my dad had known about. And they bought that house on the lake. And she decorated every room perfect except for the master bedroom. She picked out every single thing but the bed. And my dad kept asking, why can't you pick out the bed? She says, I want it to be the last thing I buy. And one day she said she was ready, and that day came, my mom and dad drove to the bed store, rolled around on a bunch of mattresses until they found just the right one. My dad said there was a lot of giggling happening that day. Then on the way home, a tree fell on the car and killed my mom. There was no wind, no rain. The tree just fell at the exact moment they drove by. My dad had a big scratch on his arm, but my mother was killed instantly. The funeral was something else. There were so many people there. When we pulled up, I asked my dad, who are all these people? He said, son, I have no idea. We get out of the car, and this stranger walks up to us and says, my parents were poor when I was little, and your mom paid for me to go to camp when I was 11. Another woman comes up and says, I got in this fight with my mom at the department store because she couldn't afford the prom dress I wanted, and your mom walked over and said, young lady, you better apologize to your mom. And then when I did, your mom took me over to the fabric store, let me pick out what I wanted, and she made me a dress prettier than any dress I had seen in the store. My dad and I looked at each other. What? My mom had a whole secret life we didn't know anything about. A month after the funeral, a VHS tape arrived from Korea. All right, see, my cousin was married to a soldier who was stationed there. And because she was so far away, she had not been able to attend the family Thanksgiving. And more importantly, that year, she had not been able to attend the after-dinner craft lesson. See, each year, my mom taught all my aunts and female cousins how to make a new craft, something that would make their houses look extra good for Christmas. And that year, my mom had put a video camera next to the table so that Nancy could learn how to do the craft. This was Nancy's first Thanksgiving away from the family, and my mom wanted her not to feel so lonely all the way over in Korea. So after the funeral, Nancy sent the tape to me. I dug the VHS player out of the closet, I blew dust out of it, and put the VHS tape in the machine. There was my mom in all her glory, showing my aunts how to make a snowman. But actually, she talked very little about the snowman. She mainly talked about me, how much she loved me. She went on and on and on. And after 10 minutes, I turned off the tape. It was embarrassing, kind of. It was like because she had decided not to tell me her feelings, she had to tell everyone else that she knew. I couldn't handle it. So every year for the last 25 years, I get that videotape out and I watch another 10 minutes, which means that I have not yet finished the tape yet. Each year, I hear a new story my mom tells about me, and in between, I listen to her go on and on and on and on about how much she loves me. And then I turn it off, and that's all I need until the next year. Thank you.